On this day in history, March 17th, 45 BC, in his last victory, Julius Caesar defeats the Pompeian forces of Titus Labienus and Pompey the Younger in the Battle of Munda. Included in the following is an excerpt from the 1944 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica going over the battle. Battle of Munda, 45 BC. While Caesar was campaigning in Africa, Pompey's cause was revived in Spain by his sons Gnaeus and Sextus, who had recruited a large army. From Africa, Caesar returned to Rome, and towards the end of 46 BC once again proceeded to Spain, where he suffered a reverse on the river Battus. But worsting Gnaeus Pompey at Sorcaria, that general retreated southwards towards Cartea. Caesar, however, headed him off and forced him to retrace his steps to Munda. The site of Munda is undecided. Some historians consider that it is the same as modern Munda, but the description of the battle renders this unlikely. It is probably north of the river Singolas, in the neighborhood of Montilla. The town of Munda was situated on a hill, and under its walls Pompey camped on March 15th, 45 BC. The next day Caesar arrived and entrenched a camp near a small stream some 5 miles away. On the 17th, learning that Pompey had been standing in battle array for some time, he ordered his standards to be raised. The two camps were separated by an undulating plain traversed by a stream, and on this plain and behind the stream Caesar marshaled his army, hoping that Pompey would come down from the hill of Munda and fight him in the open. Pompey was in command of some 50,000 men. His position was exceptionally strong, for any attack on him would have been made uphill and over marshy ground. Caesar's army numbered some 40,000. And as Pompey refused to come down from the hill, he advanced towards him. On reaching the stream, he halted his line, and pointed out to his officers the disadvantage of attacking uphill. This becoming known to men, considerable insubordination was displayed, as they felt certain of victory. Caesar thereupon ordered the advance to be continued. This halt, however, had induced Pompey to believe that Caesar had hesitated through fear, which was the case, and plucking up courage, he moved his line down the hill, but not so far from Munda that he could not retire to it if defeated. When the lines met, the greatest enthusiasm was shown on both sides. Caesar's legions, charging up the hill with great gallantry, were met by a storm of pila, javelins. Pompey's men, remembering the terrible slaughter at Thapsus, fought with determination and fury. The flight of javelins was followed by a charge which struck Caesar's front like a ram and staggered his line. The clinch then took place, and little by little Caesar's cohorts were pushed back. The situation now became extremely critical, for Caesar was some 5 miles from his camp, and should his line break, annihilation must follow. Seizing a sword and a shield, he rushed forward in the front rank before the ensigns, and by his personal example stimulated the morale of his men. As evening approached, both sides had exhausted their reserves. The auxiliaries had left the field. There was no chance of maneuvering except by cavalry, and though both sides had a considerable number of horsemen, apparently no such maneuver was made. Very few Roman generals ever understood the use of this arm. At length, as the situation became still more critical, Caesar turned to the veteran 10th Legion and cried, "Are you not ashamed to deliver your general into the hands of boys?" Stung by this taunt, the 10th Legion once again charged forward, driving back Pompey's left and compelling him to draw on his right in order to reinforce it. Caesar's cavalry then fell upon the weakened right wing, which was badly shaken. This apparently stimulated Caesar's Numidian cavalry into action, for they moved round this wing, dispatched 5 cohorts to head them off. This rearwards movement was mistaken by the Pompeian army as a general withdrawal. Thereupon the line broke and fell back on Munda in confusion. At last Caesar's 8,000 horsemen were launched, and 30,000 of the enemy were slaughtered. Caesar's losses were 1,000 killed and 500 wounded.